Good evening, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of Ask the Knights Live. I am Logan Pathwarden, your host. Thank you all for coming and being here with us tonight. We're going to have to hurry up and get right into it because we have such a fantastic pair of knights for you this evening. So let's just bring them on and have them introduce themselves so that we can get into this. So, gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
Great.
Excellent.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being on. I've been looking forward to having you guys on this show for quite a while, just because you're a lot of fun at events, and I hope that we'll have a good time on this show. So before we go any further, I'll have you introduce yourselves to the known world, and we'll start with the man who can even give me mustache envy, Sir Zippy.
I'm Zhigmun Zipser. Originally, it was Zhigmun Broghammer, which is fun because that's actually my mundane mother's maiden name. I started in the SCA years ago. I was moved from Germany from a military family and saw the castles, and then came to the United States and saw some fighting, and I love it ever since. You can't have anything else like it.
Right.
Hey, so I'm Viscount Antonii Rainbringer McKinnick. I am the one of the original Weastie crew.
Weasties
in the house. Born and raised in the East, and grown to maturity in the West, I suppose is a good way of looking at it. I love to travel.
Maturity?
Yeah, I was about to say, did you just say maturity? Exactly.
Yeah. So that's me. I like to fight. I like to make art, and we're here.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming and being on the show. Like I said, I've been looking forward to this for quite some time. So shall we just hurry up and jump right in and have some good times?
Is it present time?
Is it present time? Wait. Oh, okay. Well, we could do present time first.
I want to start with present time because I feel there's a nightly question I have to ask.
Oh God! Oh.
Really, what's happening, Logan? Well, you grab that, and get ready to start opening it. What it is that I think Zippy just felt like he needed to have some way to feel more important than me, and he had to send you a gift.
He's lying because I told him and asked him. He knew and had enough lead up time that he could have as well.
Yeah, I don't need to follow in your shoes.
So before we get to Zippy's present, I have to tell you guys a little story. My viewers are the best viewers of any show in the known or the known world to date, and I'll tell you why. First of all, our beautiful Princess of the Mist, Princess Sarah, she sent me this. Oh wait, I got to move my beard. She sent me this lovely 14th century style. Here, I'll put it in front of the beard. There you go. This lovely 14th century style necklace as a thank you for doing the show, which is a little silly because I do the show anyway. But I thank her for it. She's awesome. And then I got this beautiful scroll.
Oh, I know where that's from.
Yeah, this is from the Kingdom of Atenvelt, and I believe the illumination was done by Lady Runa. Thank you, Lady Runa, and the calligraphy by Baroness Sigurd.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's hard to read.
Right. Yep.
Okay, excellent. Well, gorgeous stuff, and thank you so much. And it also came with this awesome little medallion. Here, we'll see if I can I get that? Can you guys see that?
Excellent.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So that will go there, and I will wear it proudly. And as soon as I can get a frame, that will be framed.
It's like Christmas.
Right? I know. It's awesome. All right. So this is what Sir Zippy wants me to take care of. So I will take care of it now. He told me I could not open it until he could watch me do it. So here we go. What could it be? So you guys know that like people don't watch a show to see me; they watch it to see you guys. But I appreciate.
Sir Baldrick, he had enough. He had enough warning. He could have done something. He could have. I had the address. I could have done it.
Thanks to the chivalric virtue of humility, I didn't need in any way, shape, or form to one-up Sir Zhigmun. I think he did a wonderful thing.
I appreciate your humility. You are definitely the most humble of knights.
Ask anyone. They will all
You've
tell you
got
how
to
humble
be
I am.
kidding me. Okay, so I hope that you guys can see this because this is freaking awesome. It's a little I can't even find the camera. It's a little pilgrim's badge with my arms on it.
I painted a couple of them, so I've got a couple more to send you that are painted with some enamel paint I did. So I'll definitely send those to you in the future. So I told you this gift comes with sass.
Oh God!
Are you ready? Are you ready for your sass?
Yes, please.
So you were a good 14th century man at arms. Is that correct? Or you were at one time. So heraldry is super important. Why was it so hard for me to find your heraldry?
I
had to hunt that down. You wouldn't have gotten any sass. You just would have gotten a gift. Online, you have this show, and online, if I need to find you or any of your stuff, the most likely Wikipedia page or order of precedence of all the kingdoms you've lived in is you got your award of arms in Caid from Gerhard and Una in 2003. And that is the only information I can find really for that. I had to message Duchess Helga, and she gladly provided me with your arms. And then I also needed to get clarity from that. And then when I went to the ordinary just to look for your name you use regularly, there's nothing under the ordinary under this name or that heraldry. So
is it getting warm in here?
Logan, you can get an easy out on this. Just ask the West to update your awards entry and put it there, because that's where I went to look, and I found you immediately, and it wasn't there.
Yeah. Yep.
If only you knew people that were good with internet stuff and like IT and tech stuff that could like help you with the show and maybe help you with the wiki page if you asked really nice.
So what you guys don't understand is that my consort, Mistress Asa, is going to kill me when she sees this now, because I was supposed to have this done like a long time ago. So thank you for outing me. It's what I needed. Hold me accountable. I guess I know what I'm doing tomorrow.
I assumed as a nice 14th century man at arms that you would appreciate the value of heraldry and how you should. And honestly, I would have just sent it as a gift if it would have been easy to find.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. This is like, I have a fetish for pilgrim badges. If you can't tell. So awesome. That is probably like the coolest gift that I've gotten today, because I got this. I got this yesterday or a couple days ago or last week, and I got this the other day. So, all right, gentlemen. So enough picking on me. Shall we get started picking on you?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so we start this show with the same question just about every single time, and that's basically. Oh, somebody forgot to turn off their stuff. That is basically.
I'm a professional.
Bad
night. That is basically, how did you get your start in the SCA, or what was your first event that you actually attended?
Oh, I'm up high. So we moved to the United States in 1988, and my dad was big about touring castles. So there's nothing really to do in the town of Sierra Vista, Arizona, which has a military base called Fort Huachuca. And there's a fighter practice right in the center of town, and they had an event called Mason Greatsword, and of course a girl said you should come see this event, so I was like, absolutely, hey girl. went and showed up at my first event with Mason Greatsword. He probably doesn't remember it, but Master Drusillus was actually there, I believe. It was there was a big rainy event. And, but ever since then, I'd kind of been hooked. And that was probably 90, I think, 1990. And I didn't fight for years. There's not really any need to fight unless you really, really want to. And honestly, there was plenty to do at SCA events for a young gentleman traveling to wars. So, yeah. And then I didn't really get into serious fighting. I'd put on armor a couple times until I moved to Kaid and lived in Calafia. And yeah, that's my formative SCA years, is partying, drinking, going to a lot of grand outlandishes, and then turning around, moving to the barony of Calafia, going to a lot of Potreros, doing a lot of the same, but then doing it with fighting.
Awesome.
So I was out of work and had taken a 4-month cross-country motorcycle trip, and then I took a another trip through the Translab Highway on my motorcycle, and I've been doing all this stuff. And I got home from all that, and I talked to a friend of mine. I was like, "Hey man, what are you doing like 3 weekends from now?" So my friend Little Mike, and he said, "Oh, I'm going camping." And I was like, "Oh, dude, I've just been camping off my motorcycle for the last 6 months. Where are you going?" "I'm down." And he's like, "Well, it's not just camping. It's this medieval thing in Pennsylvania." And I'm like, "Oh, like the pantsick thing or something? I think I've heard about this before, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Cool, man, I'm in." And he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, I'm not working. I can come check this out, right?" So I showed up for Penzik with about 2 weeks notice. I made some great kilts out of crappy flannel fabric. My first exposure at all ever to the SCA was Penzik. I hadn't been to a practice. I hadn't been to a local event. I hadn't been to a local meeting. I hadn't done anything. I just showed up. And my friend was still asleep when I got there. I met all the people in his camp, which was House Three Skulls, which unsurprisingly ended up being my first household. Still love them to death. They're some of my favorite humans, and I don't know that I would be here without them today. And yeah, I fell in with them, and I was suddenly who's the tattooed shirtless guy in the kilt walking through our camp. I planned to show up for a couple days and just see what this thing was about, and they kept feeding me. So I kept doing their dishes, so they kept feeding me. I'm like, why would I leave, right? And yeah, it turned out, as I saw more and more of the Three Skulls folks, they were from Long Island, and a lot of them go to this goth industrial club on Long Island that I used to bartend at. And I was like, you drink this, you drink that. I've made all of you drinks all the time, but we've never actually spoken, because I'm always working at the bar while you guys are hanging out. And well, now I've met you all and I know you all, and you're stuck with me. And that was 2010, Penzik 39. And I got home, they put me in loaner armor, and I never looked back.
Awesome. That's one of my favorite questions. It's one of the reasons I ask it every single show, is because the variance in explanations is amazing, and always a lot of fun. All right, so after that one, we always do this one. And so what keeps you coming back? The SCA, you both have reached the accolade, you've done lots of interesting things, but why do you keep coming back year after year?
That is an easy question. The people. Is the people. I come back for the people, because I have pretty much built my entire life now around my involvement in the SCA, right? I met my wife there. We now live full-time in a big fancy RV and travel around, going from war to war and visiting friends and kingdoms, and I get to really be a knight errant, And the reason for that is we have this shared culture, this shared group, these shared ideals, I would say, that we all have, and we get to move around and be with other people that have those same thoughts and ideas and spend our time with them, and it's easiest to see when someone asks me a question like, why do you wear all that jewelry, man? Because you feel cool? And I said, yeah, I feel cool wearing all this jewelry, but not because I'm decked out in bling. I mean, that is also cool, but I can tell you the story behind every single piece of jewelry I'm wearing, whether the friend made it for me or gifted it to me, or you were there. This was the ring that won a fortune for fortune when we were gambling on that table. So that's my lucky fortune ring. Everything has meaning because it's got people associated with it. So what keeps me coming back. It's the people. They're my favorite people, and I would do anything to see them more.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna deviate from the canned answer because people is always excellent, right? Like all of
Absolutely.
these people are lifelong friends and they're lifelong part of my life. But I've been involved in a lot of communities, and when you're involved with a community, it's your love for that community that helps build that bond. And so for me, it's honestly the love of history. If it hadn't have been this historic group, like if I hadn't have been brought up around like castles and looking at the history of things, and even for me, my dad was really into just any history, going to like where they had the Olympics in Innsbruck to going and seeing some of the horrors that happened during World War II, like any history. So I'm here because the history is builds this community of people that believe in something that's greater and has the merit to it, and especially for chivalry. So it's the history that really draws me in, and it's the community that keeps me.
Well said. Very well said. Yeah, I agree. It is for me. It's the people, but it's also the excitement of learning new things. I mean, from each of you, I have learned so much just from following you in the things that you do. You know, from my love of the 14th century and from conversations that we've had, and you giving me, hey, have you checked this out? Have you checked this out? No, I haven't, but I will. And then I just recently started doing jewelry because one of my favorite stories to tell is where is the ring fortune. Like
Yes.
it's an amazing story, and it would not have happened without that ring. You know what I mean? Like that was where everything revolves around that. If it hadn't been there, it wouldn't have been a thing. So I think you both gave excellent answers on that. I agree with you 100%. Okay, so after the first two questions there, I just want to remind our audience that, hey, the first half hour is mine. I asked all my silly questions and they run up. So the second half hour is yours. So make sure that you're getting your questions into those comments. Make sure that you are putting your SEA name and title in there so that we can get it right. And I promise you that I will butcher your name just as well as I can. It's a promise from me to you. Okay, so back to the questions, gents. Alrighty, so what do you think is the hardest part of training or teaching someone? Someone new, a new squire, a new fighter, or someone who's just new to like maybe your preferred weapons form, or someone who's seeking advice from you? What's the most difficult part about it?
It's going to sound cruel, but it's almost dumbing it down, because I'm working on things and I'm at a level of complexity that I'm doing things like I'm working on, I watch this video where Branneth's talking about taking a step while people are taking the half breath. And so I'm super excited about like working on affecting my opponent's breathing as I push, and then I do this. And I'm like, I run into a new fighter, that's not a good thing for me to blow their head up with. It really isn't. Sticking to the basics and sticking to really what's simple, and then talking about the value of the simplicity of it, and then showing them examples in action is really the best way for everyone, because everybody's different, everybody learns different, but examples in action and simplicity and explaining value is really what it's about. And then not letting what I'm going through and what I'm trying to learn and then throwing that at them like an idiot, which I've done far too many times to count.
You must resist.
So for me, it is learning how to teach each individual because everyone learns differently. I can speak to how I learn, right? And how I learn is weird. I don't really have a mental image, right? When someone says, picture this, like I can think about the concept and I can think about how I would do it and I can think about all things, but I don't really see a picture ever. And that's weird. It's a thing that I've learned about in like the last year. And I was like, oh, that's not normal. That's not like mental picture is a real thing, not just a, turn of phrase. Interesting. Okay, cool. It also explains why I'm terrible at measuring things, right? But that's a different story. So learning how to translate information from the way I feel it, do it, think it, and embrace it into what works for another person and how their brain will take the data I'm giving them and process it. The thing I teach the most as a guy who is a glaive fighting primary, right? And most people are not that. So the thing I am teaching most often is glaive 101 to people who already fight, be they newer fighters or experienced fighters, right? It's jumping in to teach them the basics of glaive fighting and building it off of whatever knowledge of fight they have. And I tend to teach with a fire hose. I'm going to give you all the stuff. And we're going to see what sticks and what doesn't stick. And you're going to fight with it for a while, for a week, a month, whatever. And then the next time I see you, we're going to fight and I'm going to see what's stuck. And then I can take the fire hose and aim it back at other spots. Right. But some people, you need to have the glaive in their hands and let them walk through a thing. Other people, you need to explain it over and over and over again, or they need to be able to watch you. Right. And those are, I would say, the three main learning types that I've found, because I teach this all the time. Since I've gotten knighted, I think I have spent more time teaching people how to fight glaive than I have actually fighting. And I don't mind it because I love sharing it with people, and I want more people that I can fight glaive with in good fights. So it's cool. But it's that figuring out how they process things and if I should show them, if I should make them do it, or if I should explain it. And once you figure out what language works best for them, that's usually the hardest part for me.
Okay. Oh, hold on. I just screwed up my my next question here. Actually, on top of that last question, what do you think is like it for someone who's learning? What do you think is the most important thing for them to bring to the field?
Ooh. I think the most important thing, the thing that made me learn the fastest and the best, one of the last plateaus to really clear, was learning that if you want to learn, you need to stop worrying about winning or losing. You need to walk onto the field and be willing to get your butt whooped. Because I learned from bruises. If I get hit in the same spot a couple times, I know that there's something lacking there and I need to figure out what that particular deficiency is. If I walk out there and I want to win every time and I do what I need to win every fight, I don't explore different options at a practice, but I'm not really there to practice and learn. I'm there to try and beat a guy, So disassociating the ability to win. And it sounds like that should be easy, right? But the hard part there is knowing that everybody's watching you to see what you're doing. And you don't want to be the guy who looks like that was one of the hardest parts for me in picking up a sword and shield, to learn that, because like I'm at a certain level with my glaive. If I pick up a sword and shield, I'm much lower level. And you need to realize that like some people are going to walk in, not know you, and see you stinking the place up with a sword and shield. And you need to no longer care about that. That was probably the most freeing thing about getting a belt. Walking into a practice for the first time as a knight and sucking with a sword and shield, and everyone being like, "What's going on?" And I didn't care. I officially no longer cared, and it felt amazing. So the hardest thing to learn is to not care about losing and still wanting to win.
I came to the field with absolutely no natural talent, none whatsoever. There's a video that one of the vigilants of Kaid, Bjorn Husfartir, who's offered and lives in Hawaii, he has it somewhere, and you can see on the video that filming me fighting him was so boring that they stopped filming us fighting and filmed somebody else, and you can still hear me in the background going, "Ow!" It's if I hadn't persevered, then I wouldn't be where I am today. And that perseverance was far more valuable than a lot of the other skills that people come by naturally and bring to the field. I say perseverance is probably the most important thing to bring to the field, to understand it's a learning experience and to understand that there's going to be difficulty on the way.
Awesome.
Anton just wants that video now. That's what he wants.
I want to see that video.
I want video of me punching you in the face, but that's a different story.
That's a good one.
Oh.
That was our first, that was our first fights too.
It was legal-ish.
It was. I punched him in the face with a great sword. It was fine.
Okay, well, tell a story. That's what we're here for.
So it was King's Champion, King and Queen's Armored Champion Rattan fights of the East. Zippy was there.
Brand new to the East.
Brand new to the East. And I was just, some guy. I don't even think I was squired to Cullen at that point yet. Was I? No, I don't think I was.
Yeah. No, you
Cullen
had
was
it was a fresh baby red belt, I think.
Yeah. Cullen was still my not my knight. And I drew Zippy. It was a mixed weapons tourney, and I drew Zippy in the sword and shield round. And he pasted me appropriately as he should as a knight. And I drew him for the bye in the great sword round. And my uncle, who I know happens to be watching, hey, Uncle Duke Sir Brennan, I know you love it when I call you that, had decided as a vindictive and evil man, which is why I heart him to pieces, that Bays would be destructive in this elimination tourney. And Zippy rolls up and decides, hey, we fought sword and shield. How about I be your great sword bye? And I mean, number one, this guy already beat me. I want to beat him. Number two, when the knight walks up and says, hey, I want to be your bye fight, you say, yes, sir. And you go out there to take lunch money, right? Like, that's what you do. So we had this great back and forth. It was real good. And he legged me. He got me super clean. And I dropped to my knees, and he pressed a little, and I leaned back. And he pressed a little more, and I leaned back. And I pressed a little more, and I leaned back until I finally got him to throw and had my sword here, and I half sworded. And I was leaned all the way back, and he leaned all the way over me. And I literally just half sworded him square in the face, and basically just I punched, but punched there so that the great sword hit him right across the face. And I believe Zippy's response was,
did you just punch me in the face?
I was looking over my shoulder as I hear Duke Brennan in the background go, did you just punch him in the face? And he does this happy circle dance like this because his nephew just punched the knight in the face with a greatsword. And
it was a good fight. It really was.
A super good fight. And Zippy and I had known one another through friends at that point a lot. But this is the first time we ever got on the field together. And the attitude that he had and the fun we had in those fights, I was like, this is my dude. I just punched him in the face and he's cracking up and having a good time. Like, this is my dude.
There's another option? You're not, I thought that's how supposed to go.
There's another option if you suck.
Okay.
Right.
As a person, not as a fighter.
As a person.
You can still have fun and suck as a fighter.
Actually, absolutely. Yes.
All right, gents. We're just about to the halfway point, but I still have several more questions to go on. Oh, there she is. There is the smile made of sunlight. Oh, Countess Fortune. I love that woman. She's awesome. Okay, so I still have a bunch more questions, and you guys have already decided that you wanted to go long. So I'm going to hold you to it. And so before we get to our wonderful viewer questions, I have a few more for you. But before we even get to that, I just want to remind our audience that this evening, yes, I know we haven't done it in quite a while, but after the show, we will have an after show Discord with these two fine gentlemen. We'll post a link to that Discord in the comments so that you can hop on there and come and join all three of us and ask us, all the silly questions that aren't appropriate for live television. I don't know. I just don't want the FCC coming after me. Anyway, so and other than that, do me a favor. If you are watching, we've got a lot of viewers out there right now. If you're watching, do us a favor and go ahead and flat snap the hell out of that like button. The more likes that we get, the better we do, and the more that we get passed around the internet, Yeah, I know. You keep all the dirty thoughts to yourself. But yes, we want to get passed around the internet. So go ahead and smack that like button and help us out. Alrighty. So a couple more questions before we get to our
Logan,
fantastic
I
viewer
see that
questions.
we've now jumped from 7 to 12 likes. If we hit 20, I will put Thor on camera. I know. Yeah.
Come on. You guys want to see the doggo.
But carry on,
You
carry
want
on.
to see the doggo.
Please.
All
Carry on.
right. Questions are going on. Okay. So so I know that you are both you do a lot of other stuff other than fight. So this question is, do you think it is important, or how important do you think it is to be a quote unquote well-rounded off the field? You know, do you want your knights to just be the epitome of prowess and nothing else, or do you want them to know how to play chess, or play an instrument, sing, dance, whatever?
So you get to decide what your ideal is. That's your choice. My ideal is I am a failure of a knight, and I must continue to thrive to become a good knight. And it's not a good and easy path. So there's all the things that you have to do to make that happen. And you're not just a knight for the king. You're not just a knight for the field. You're not just a knight for your brother and sister fighters. It's there are things you can do for everyone and be there and to demonstrate that you are a knight in all times and all places. So it's like that question doesn't really cover it. You're like a well-rounded knight. Well, what do you mean by well-rounded knight? You're like, oh yeah, well, I fight all the weapon styles. What else do you want? You're like, what's your goal? If that's just your goal, if that's your ideal, then sure, you're fine. You're okay. But that's never going to be my goal. I'm always going to thrive to do better and to be the greatest knight that I possibly can be. And I know for a fact that I will fail. So keep your ideal high, and then you'll accidentally be a well-rounded knight. If you keep your ideal low, then you might achieve it, but you'll never be great.
Well said.
Well said. Very well said. We're at 26 likes, so Thor is going to accompany me while I answer this question. He's going to show up over here.
There's the boy.
Talk about one-upping somebody, huh?
There we go. There we go. Yeah, I got a dog on demand. Well, it's hard to take him seriously while Thor's hanging out with me. I absolutely am the guy who, as soon as we talk about prowess, go, hey, does he do an art? Because being a knight is not a fighting award. It's not, right? I consider it a human award with a fighting requirement, is how I always look at it. So do you need to be a great artisan to be a knight? No, not at all. I'm no Laurel. I'm not going to tell you you're great at a thing or terrible at a thing, but I want to know that you tried the thing. I want to know that you try to do service and help people. I want to know that you're a good person and that you try to look the part of the role you want to play. And that doesn't mean you need to spend a lot of money. It doesn't mean you need to be great at an art. It doesn't mean you need to be working towards a pelican. But if you're going to be a knight, you're going to be a leader. And that means you're going to be a leader at a practice, and you're going to be a leader on the warfield. We know that because you're a knight, right? But it also means that at a local event, when someone doesn't know what to do to get started in an art, maybe they can get a start with you. Maybe you can help them out. Maybe you can teach them a little bit about something and see if it's something they like. Or maybe you do enough art to be able to plug them into the other people that are artsy near you, right? You need to be fluent enough in all the aspects of the society to be a good peer, to be a leader in any field that you're called to be a leader on, to pick up sword and shield, for your knight, wherever you may be. I'm sorry, for your crown, wherever you may be. And to me, that means you need to be well-rounded. I would say that there's a sliding bar there for me. If you do all the things great, I might give you a little tiny pass on prowess because you're going to do the order of service by being a member of it, right? But for me, you need to be able to do all the things. If you don't at least try to do all the things, I don't consider that knightly. personally, and that's me. I have high standards, and I know it.
And that's try even if you fail.
Yeah,
you have to make an attempt.
Fail all over the place.
It's okay to fail, but
you can be terrible.
You have to put your foot in the pool.
You can be terrible at art. You can make terrible things that look like garbage, but you try. I'm in. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Those are great.
That's courage. That's courage of a knight.
Which is a virtue. Oh, we're getting to the virtue question. I promise. I've got a great one from Her Grace Helga that's right up your alley, I promise you. But we're not there yet. Okay, so next question. Who is your SCA hero and why? Dun, dun, dun.
That's a really hard one. I'll be honest. That's a really hard one. I'm going to say that I can't give a single answer. I honestly can't. I have been really blessed by the amount that I travel and the fact that I talk too much and am very willing to run up to people I don't know and ask them questions and be a pain in their butt. That I have always managed to end up surrounded by incredibly talented people. Incredibly talented people, be they paragons of service or absolute demons on the war field, or the pinnacle of pageantry and grace on the tourney field, or an artisan who makes things like no other. I mean, if you want me to name drop, sure, like Duke Eichbrander, a guy who does it all and who taught me a ton of metalwork and I consider a friend now, and that's amazing. But is he my hero? No, he's just a guy who does amazing things that I value as a friend and want to be more like. Duke Brennan, who is here listening now, an amazing fighter and kind of an asshole, but he's your asshole. I love you, Brennan, because you're willing to be that guy when it's necessary. And that requires courage. There's no way to shake a stick at that. Sir Mari has always been one of the people that I looked at when people say, like, how do you win the SCA? And I'm like, well, look at her.
Yeah,
she's a knight. She's a royal peer. She does all the things. She does all the things wonderfully. She's got all the things, and she still bounces around in her Lands Connect booty shorts and says hi to newcomers. Like it's no thing at all, and she wants you to just come have a good time. How do you argue with that? So I don't have a hero. I have so many people that I look up to that have helped me be a better person. And I look forward to meeting even more awesome people that are going to do that for me.
I'm in the same boat with him. There's so many that either once were heroes or are people that I just respect on such a level. One of them is Master Johannes, formerly Sir Johannes of Windrose Armory fame. Him, he showed me what the 14th century was. That guy's fucking strong.
Big love for him.
But he's I would consider him a dear friend, and I love him with all my heart, and he'd be the first to tell me to get screwed. That's a different relationship. It's like he said, they're all like you asked me who my number one knight is, I'd probably say Duke Ivan from Aitenvelt. He was a Laurel before he was a knight. Was a baron before he was a knight. He just does everything, and in the face of adversity, he usually has this grimace that somehow turns to a smile, and then he tries to solve the problem. But he's a good friend. I can call him at 3 a.m. and he'd do whatever I needed. That's not a hero. That's just a good person.
Right.
But I'd say in the SCA at this exact moment, Logan, it's you.
No way.
I made you really, a gift for a reason. I made you a gift for a reason because I saw what you did, and it impressed me.
Well, I appreciate it. And so now, if anybody is wondering what it takes to make a Dark
feels,
Man blush,
by the way, if nobody's told you, I bring the feels.
Wow. Okay, so we're just going to skip right over that, and we're going to go to the next question. Thank you so much. Oh boy. Okay, so this is an important one, especially to the folks who are watching this, all the unbelts. So, what do you look for in a squire? Are you an approach me or a be approached kind of?
Oh man. Oh, squires. Oh, I know Demetrius is probably watching.
He's in chat. Oh, he's out there. He's talking.
He's
He's talking
out
smack.
there. All of my squires, I think, have been accidental. Like they've been just victims of circumstance that have happened. Like I haven't really sought out really anything. Demetrius is a key example. Demetrius and Peleus, both of them were members of a household that was relatively fringy and relatively anti-establishment. And as Baron, I went up and talked to them, and I had some dealings with them before. But as I became closer and closer and closer and realized that they really had an interest in the path, we just started talking about the path. And then that's kind of how it happens. You start talking to people in the path, and then yeah. One of my man-at-arms right now who's on quest, Ringo, as soon as we're done with the pandemic, and the pandemic is part of their quest. It'll be part of their path forever. I could have done any of this and finished it during the pandemic, but it's part of their long journey. Where I was witnessing the Combat of the 30 at Pensic. If you're into 14th century stuff and you have the option, go see the Combat of the 30. Afterwards, he was there, and I talked about how I was going to talk to Albrecht about becoming my man-at-arms and putting him on quest. And Ringo said to me, I'd be interested in that quest. And I was like, are you shitting me? Yeah, dude. We're in. And then so I told somebody else about how, yeah, Ringo asked for the quest. So he's on the path to become one of my squires, and hopefully we get that done. And then we're in the middle of the Bacchanal, and there's some lewd wrestling. That's the nicest way to put that. We're at the Bacchanal, and Volmar, who's one of my other man-at-arms, says to me, he's like, hey, actually, I wanted to talk to you about that. And I was like, what? So there's half-naked gentleman over here, and he's like, yeah, so that's something that would mean a lot to me. And I'm like, wait, what?
The half-naked gentleman?
What's that? Okay, all right. No, this is awesome. You're amazing, and you're in. So yeah, as far as like what I look for in a squire, I don't know. They just kind of come at me, and I just kind of go, okay, are we doing this? Let's think of a quest.
That's awesome.
So I've only taken one squire, and my squire ended up. He's now a count. He outranked me before I. He managed to be on even footing with me OP wise the day I was stepping down as prince when he became one while he was still my squire and unknighted. So my perceptions may be a little different. I have taken one squire. I took him the day that I was knighted because we had discussed him being a man-at-arms and I wasn't going to get to see him for a minute. So I took Ozer as my squire about an hour after I was knighted in our House von Drakenklaus circle where Duke Lucan and Duke Brennan and my knight, Viscount Cullen, were all there, and I got to walk up in front of everyone because I had business and turn around and say, in my long and tenured experience as a member of the Order of the Chivalry, and take a squire, right? The thing that I look for in a squire is the thing that I look for in a squire, very, very simply, is motivation. I can help you learn how to fight better. I can help you with franchise. I can teach you some art stuff. I can introduce you to anyone you need to learn things from that I can't teach you, but I can't make you want it. I can't make you want to put in the work. You need to want to do the work. And Ozer was already doing the work. I didn't teach my squire how to fight at all. He already knew how to fight when it came to me. It brought me great joy that you know their finals of that crown, he got to use the one thing I had taught him with a glaive. That made my heart sing. But at the end of the day, it wasn't about teaching him how to fight. It was it was taking on someone who was an amazing human and making sure that other people were going to see he was an amazing human because he was a little quiet. But he had all the drive and motivation. He needed a franchise coach. If you ask me, the best thing I ever did for my squire, it was setting him up with Countess Tolkien as consort, because she did the rest of the work.
Get dressed.
Oh God, yes.
Ozzy is one of my top 5 knights
Motivation.
of the East now too. Young
Motivation.
knight, but he's definitely.
I believe the term you're looking for is that he is a gentleman, a knight, and also once you stick him in armor, he is a bad bitch.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right. So I've got one more question that I'm going to ask, and this one is going to start our viewer questions. This one comes from a viewer who wanted to remain anonymous. You know who you are. You know how I feel about you. You're fucking awesome. Seriously, this person sent me like a whole list of really awesome questions. So we're just gonna get started on this one. So if all you folks in the comments, if you haven't gotten your questions in yet,
if it's Giles or Isabella, I love them.
It is neither one of them, but they love you too. Okay, so I love this question. What is your favorite part of your armor? Does it have a story behind it, or is it just pretty and or functional?
That's a really hard question. Right? Well, one part of my armor that I consider part of my armor, because if I'm taking the field, I wear it, is either a belt or a favor that my lady made for me. Because
you mean your Lady Sky?
Yes, Viscountess Kiar.
Yes. Where is she? We want to see her.
She's not going to want to come out here right now. You kidding me? I could ask, but she's going to shoot me down. If you want to just watch me get shot down, I could do that for you.
That's fun too. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. Answer the question. I would say in part it is her favor, right? Because every time I take the field, that's why I get to go out there. You know, if you ask me, how did your heroic tourney fight go at Penzik? You know, and I won that fight as soon as I got to go out there and be the only person who, before starting the fight, walked to the side of the field and took a knee to salute my lady, because that was what mattered. I got to salute my lady and let everyone there know that I was going to take that field and fight my heart out for her. And that's all that mattered. From there on out, I already won. If you want to talk about a real piece of armor, I'm going to go with my helm, because it's an Acer, and Donegal made it, and I love him, and it's pretty, and that is my face when I'm on the field. And it keeps my noggin safe, which, some of you may like and others may not. But I mean, it keeps this looking like it looks, which also helps keep my lady around so that I can keep wearing her favor.
I mean, the symbolic one is always the tabard, the heraldry. Heraldry is super important to me, if you can't tell. Did you notice, Logan?
I did. Thank you.
Okay. So
important that you would make sure it's easily recognizable and found online, right?
Yes.
Making 100%. Sure. Please carry on.
I know what I got to do tomorrow.
Thanks for reiterating. I appreciate you. But so for symbolic reasons, of course, the heraldry, whichever heraldry you represent on the field, which will be the king, the Northern Army, my personal heraldry, a lot of the time it's my lady's heraldry. That's always really, really significant to me. But for physical armor, what's the most important? I did a lot of climbing for a long time, and then I got a wrist injury and had to have wrist surgery. So my demi-gauntlet is my favorite piece of armor, and demi-gauntlet is in the rules. They get shoved off, and people say that they're not important. All I have to say to you is, shut the fuck up, put your demi-gauntlets on. They're in the rules.
Excellent. So now I think that we should go over to some of our distinguished viewers. And so, Zippy, this is the question that I was telling you about. This is from Duchess Helga of the West. If anybody out there doesn't know Duchess Helga, then you're not watching Between Two Peers, and you should be, because what the hell else are you doing during plague time on a Friday night? Okay, so this question is, what was the moment that taught you your understanding of humility? How does it affect you to this day? It's a little heavy.
This is a real rough crowd for humility. I'm gonna say that in front. Just saying.
It's kind of super hard for me because I was told that I would never be a knight by friends with me of mine that I started being the SCA. I was told that you're just not going to be able to do it. You're just not going to be able to get there. You're just not going to be able to. And it's overcoming that perseverance. So even before I started on the path, like having that kind of like negative opinion, overcoming it, but still understanding that you overcoming those adversities is really, and understanding where you came from is really the basis of humility. Humility has to have some basis in reality, but it's not your negative thoughts. For all the people who think, well, I'm humble because I self-deprecate, that is not humility. Humility is realizing that you can and will fail and persevering in still within it. So I really, coming onto the path to knighthood and becoming a squire was me thinking that I'm going to do this, I'm going to try, and I'm going to do my best. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to make it. So even from the very beginning, I was not sure I would ever be a knight. And humility has been a big part of my path. A lot of the bravado that people see today is tempered with that humility from the very beginning. And I never forget it.
Well said.
I mean, I don't need to surprise anyone and say that humility is often the virtue that I find I have the hardest time with. And it's not because I think I'm awesome, right? Like, I think it's because I'm confident and I'm happy with who I am as a person. And a lot of times that reads to people as the opposite of being humble, right? As being prideful. And it really tempered a lot for me when Duke Hans of the West had said something to me about what, he considered humility to be, because he is also not a super humble man, right? But his view on humility was a very different one. And it was that it isn't that you need to downplay your own ability. It's that you need to understand and grasp your own ability, right? You need to have a firm handle on what your ability is, because you're allowed to be thankful of the skills or abilities or virtues that you do have. You don't need to downplay them. That's not what humility is, And then the second half of learning that humility was, as an unbelt, humility is a real weird one to walk, because as an unbelt, part of your job is making sure the knights notice you, right? Because if they don't notice you, you're never going to, come up as a candidate, right? You need to be making sure that people know you can fight. You need to garner some word fame. You need to, in a way, self-promote, and that sounds terrible when you phrase it like that, but that's what franchise is, right? That's part of what largesse does. There's a lot of things that are intertwined there that can read terribly if you say them one way, but when you get to the core of what they really are, they matter. So as you struggle your way along to get offered, the other important part of that conversation again came from Duke Brennan for me, where once I got offered, he said to me, and this is as a Viscount, remember, I had reigned in the mists before I was offered, before I was a knight, and now here I get offered, and and Brennan was Prince of the East at the time, and he looked at me and said, now is time for humility. Now is where it is about everyone else. And he was right. He was 100% right. And I did my best to try and make that happen. And I'm sure that I failed plenty of times, but that's, as Zippy said, that is also part of humility. It's knowing that you're going to fail. It's knowing that you're going to do things wrong. And it's having the strength to know that in advance so that you can pick yourself up, make your apologies, and do better next time.
Excellent. Well said. And I'll throw this little bit in for my own self. I think that humility is not just like you both said, it's not downplaying what you can do, but it's knowing what you can't do. So I'll say this. You know, Anton, you're a fantastic glaive fighter, and you know that you're okay with sword and shield. So if someone comes to you to learn sword and shield, you know, it is humble of you to say, well, I can teach you sword and shield, but if you want to learn sword and shield really and be amazing at it, you should go talk to Sir So and so. Instead of just saying, I mean, you're showing your humility, or it is more humble to say, like, yes, I can teach you, but you'd be better off with him. When you want to learn glaive, you come back to me. You know what I mean? Knowing your limitations, but not being limited by them. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Anton's got a lot of limitations. He's left-handed, so
True. It's true. You should see my flat snap. Don't worry, you'll see it. You'll see it like 10 miles away when it starts its long, luxurious flight towards you. Yeah,
there's another left-handed slow guy. His name is Duke Sven from Kaid, and I assure you, I've seen his flat snap twice. I saw it twice before it hit me.
Yeah, notice that Demetrius is coming there. As Anton is left-handed, he doesn't know what a flat snap is. He typed that about 30 minutes ago, by the way. He knew it was coming. He's a lefty too. He's got it.
Yeah. All right, so we got some more great questions here. So I'm going to jump right in here. This one is from Lord Lawrence Vaughn. How do squires work on leadership when you have a bunch of them all working on it at the same time? Like, how do they stand out?
By doing a good job and by sharing leadership as opposed to trying to do all of it by themselves. Sort of to follow off of what you just said, figure out what parts you're good at. Show your leadership there and do the work there. Shine like a fuck. And then make sure you also shine the spotlight on others. Because if I see someone do a kick-ass job, and instead of doing that kick-ass job and then continuing to keep doing all the things and stay in the spotlight, if I see someone say, no, I'm really good at this. Everybody listen to me. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what I'm going to help with. Here's how we can make this work. Awesome. Great job, guys. So-and-so, you're real good at this. How about you help them? Now you've showed me that, number one, you're also being humble. You know that someone else is better at a thing than you. It shows me also that you're not trying to be, the star of the show the whole time. You're there to make sure things get done well and to help your brothers succeed. Huge bonus.
Nice.
Yeah. So this question was asked directly of me, and so I added it in. And it's really important to understand that leadership just isn't on the field. You have to find the opportunity to be a leader. And I assure you, there are plenty of opportunities to be a leader and to show that you're an example. There's never a time that there's not an opportunity. If you're only looking at the field and you see a bunch of people that are trying to shout commands at the same time and everything else, you know what your job is? Your job is to relay the commands for them and to show deference to the person that's taken the executive decision on the field. That's the sergeant job. That's the excellent and wonderful thing that will help the Army best. And that's good leadership. Your sergeants are just as important as your captains. But if you really want to demonstrate it, look for other opportunities. It's not just the field. You see a big storm, it strays in a key example, and a tent's blowing in the wind. If you're the first motherfucker up to come stop that tent and come help somebody when their pavilion's blowing down or something else, I promise you, the Knights will notice that more than you screaming once on the field that somebody's in your flank. They'll notice that you got up first and you ran there first and you knew that they knew you were a leader. And you'll find that those questions about your leadership get asked less and less the more you do things like that.
Absolutely. Be mindful.
Was I supposed to say boom after that? Was I supposed to drop the mic?
Boom. That's what's coming next. So, the more Patreon members we get, then we can get stuff like sound effects and things like that. So
okay,
look forward to it.
Cal's the best.
Yeah, he absolutely is, 100%. Don't let him know that I said that, but yeah, he is the best. All right. So our next question comes from Thorin from the East. With how much you both have traveled, what is one tradition that you would love to bring back to the East and see established?
Oh man, there's so many. Like
So,
I love
oh,
I
man.
love the tokens that the Aiden used to give to newcomers, and then I know Lord Alexander Clark brought it from somewhere else that he had heard with the cups, and I think Martino had done it in Calentier, and now giving cups, and I'm like, cups to newcomers, so I have something to toast. That's way better than some token. What?
Oh
What?
man, that's
No.
awesome.
So it's like every time I'm like, this tradition is way better. Somebody else comes up with something from somewhere else, and I'm like, that's awesome too. I don't know. I love the fact that they're different. I love the fact that West has an unbroken line of the crown being passed back and forth, and then that makes me love Eighten belts. The fact that the crown crowns himself an Eighten belt, right?
Mhm.
Like all these little traditions. But I guess the one I'd like to see get spread around a lot is the Lion of Adenbelt. The East has the Tiger, which is really similar. From what I've been told, the motivation's different, but I've never been crowned, so I don't really get to make that decision. I know Antier's got a lion. I believe Outlands has the Walker of the Way. I think all kingdoms should have an award that the crown only gets one to give, and that it's really the person that makes the SCA for them.
I concur. That was one of the things that Kiara and I made as Prince and Princess, was one of those types of awards for the Mists. I heart those award types. They are phenomenal. They show value without precedence, and that's what matters most there, right? Like that's what it's about.
Yeah, because they don't even need precedence. Whether they have precedence or not, nobody cares. They're not talking about the precedence. They're like, that guy was a lion. When like
Exactly.
when like I think Vahalrik was on an episode, and he's like, yeah, I'm Duke Morgan of Aitenfeld's lion. And it's like, I knew what that meant. There's a bunch of people in the SCA that don't know what that means, but I was like, yeah, that's a thing. Yes.
Yep. For us, it was we made Beacon of the Mists, because you're in the mists. A beacon lights the way, right? And
Right.
a beacon carries no precedence, and AOA is higher on the order of precedence than getting the beacon. But you can only give a beacon to one person or one couple if it's merited in that case, and that
Mhm.
that
Oh, the
said,
couple idea is good. Well done.
yeah. So many traditions with so much travel. There's so many good ones. If I was going to bring any one back to the East, it would be one that I've tried bringing to the East a little when I ran as King's Champion. I got to format the King and Queen's Armored Champion tourney, and I used the Western idea of processing and speaking to the crown, and then selecting your first round fight. That's not a thing that's done in the East, and I adore that. I adore that pageantry. I adore getting to pick your fight and getting to shake the hand of that person and let them know that you wanted to fight them.
Yes.
I adore that, coming out with your banner, the whole nine. And I mean, and it went so well, and it was so cool to watch happen in my birthplace home, and see people who are normally real quiet, real shy. My Squire brother Brick rolled out there, and he said what he had to say, and he looked awesome, and he stood tall, and he's generally a real quiet guy, and he picked his fight, and I just got to stand there and be like, yeah, this is awesome. And it's just watching that display happen, because everything that happens after it is still going to be a crown one way or another. But when you open it like that, I'm there. I'm not meeting up with my friends at an SCA event to fight a tourney. I get to take the field and have some small deed of arms with other men of coat armor. That's what's about to happen. And we're talking about it with banners and fancy words. And you're showing me that you're not just there to swing stick and walk home with a W, which is great. I mean, picking up the dubs is sweet as hell. But when you also can walk out there and put some words together, whether you're shy or not, and let the people there know that I'm here to fight. I'm here to participate in a sport. This is a thing that's going to happen. It's not scripted, and I'm going to do my best to perform on this field in a sport. But this is also performative. And I'm going to make sure that you know that I want you all to have a good time and bring you into this experience with me with these words. Just like if you knock my block off, I'm going to go flying through the air and hit the dirt in that tourney because now you know I lost and it looked good and you're having a good time. Yeah. So that Western Crown package, the procession and challenges, I adore that. I adore that. When I first saw that in the West, the first crown I ever fought in was a Western Crown, and I got to do that. And I could have walked into my first round fight and somehow lost twice and had to walk out and would have been happy.
Right? Because you feel like you're walking on air. You feel like you're there. So yeah, I get you. I've also lived in quite a few kingdoms, and I've got to say the one thing that I would like to see in other kingdoms. I've never lived in the East. I lived in Atlantia, which is adjacent. But the one thing that I would like to see in all kingdoms is the Western tradition of opening crown to everyone who shows up. Because I love the idea that as Western fighters, if you want to keep the crown in the West, you better make sure that you defeat all the challengers. Because we get folks from, Kaid or Antir or anywhere, and they show up because, crown is crown. You get a lot of good fights, and our crown lists are huge. But that's the thing, it is a thing that is understood. If you want to keep the Western crown in the West, you had better keep it, you Western fighters. You'd better want it. So I don't know. There's something about that I really like.
I remember watching His Grace Felix from the mid fighting, and he made it to the semifinals where he was bested by Miles, and it was an amazing fight. But everybody showed up. You showed up because you had people from other lands trying to take your throne. How much more medieval do you want? And now, mind you, there's pros and cons, and I don't think that anyone who's a foreigner should ever be entering into a crown unless they are ready, willing, and able to do the job properly, which is key.
Absolutely.
And it's hard for us to screen that, right? But this is probably good for Discord chatter later, because I have this whole thing that I've talked about with people about the Western ego, right? And it's awesome. I adore it. And that willingness to take all comers is part of it. That's why it's so cool.
Absolutely. All right, but so let's get on to the next one. And I really like this one. This one comes from Demetrius McLaren. And he says, do you have
Demetrius
any...
Crete, yes.
Okay, sure.
He's a former squire. McLaren's his mundane name.
Okay. All right. So we'll just say Demetrius then. Do you have specific bath words that you don't give elsewhere? And how do you choose them? And if you'll explain what the bath is for folks who might not know.
The bath is part of your traditional knighting ceremony in some places. In some places it may not be done, right? Because again, we're talking about regions and kingdoms and traditions. I'm not going to shed any further light on the specifics of the bath because there's a lot of mystery involved in some kingdoms, and I believe it should stay that way. I didn't know exactly what I was going to be getting myself into for my bath, and I was terrified and looking forward to it. And I would hope to let others have that same joyous fear, right? That being said, I don't have specific words for that. I have a few different things that I often say, at vigils or at baths, depending on which we're at. And there's a pool of things that I often, enjoy to share that are things that are special to me, or in some cases it's things that are special to the person that I'm talking to. I have some things that are a little more a little more general when it's, visiting the vigil of someone that I don't know as well. I recall Zippy. I watched you at a vigil pass speed bump a chain, I believe it was, to hold on to think about that, and the words that you use there. And I have stolen that twice.
So has Brennan.
Because it's phenomenal. And these are the thing. This is why I don't have heroes. I have friends who are great role models. And I mean, Zippy is a great role model sometimes.
I was going to say sometimes.
He's an excellent example. And we also need bad examples sometimes. That's why he and I do so well. But yeah, I don't have specific words. I think that things are really, in that case, are very often much more individualized for me. I often lead in with something similar that makes everybody think it's going to be the same conversation that they may have just had 20 times, and then throw a hard right curve. That's probably my standard, because it gets them off guard, and then it becomes more interesting when you pitch that fastball. But yeah, no, I don't have standardized ones.
So I used to have a thing I said in vigils about fealty. I tend to not go into night vigils that often. They tend to be super, super busy, and there's a lot of people that have things to say. And honestly, if there's anything that I have to say to you as a squire, I've probably failed you if I haven't told you by now. It's my job, right? Atenvelt's bath is different than the vigil, and the East does their bath before the vigil. Atenvelt does theirs after the vigil. So especially at wars, they'll do a vigil late into the night, and then there'll be a bath at like dawn. The East does theirs beforehand, and then they'll say some words. So there's a different set of weight to each event. Like if you do the bath before, then you can say a couple nice things, and then they get them into the vigil, and it's more less solemn. When you do it at dawn after the vigil, there's only a couple nights that'll show up, and then you'll usually say something that's specific to them or inspired at the moment. And then a lot of those moments, those private, so you don't get a no. Other than that, I discussing with non-knights about fealty is something that I think is really, really important, and we don't discuss how I think that the chain is how we cheat. We get this symbol of our fealty, and a lot of the other peerages don't really even discuss fealty with their students and how it works, or how being in defiance of the crown is just as important as standing there with them. So I'll usually leave one of my chains with a peer, like laurels or pelicans under most situations, and I'll say, contemplate fealty, please, and take this chain with you. There's actually been a couple occasions where that person wore my chain up as they went to be elevated. And any knight that has a problem with that, you can suck it. There was that peer thinking about fealty and how important it was to them, and that just makes us closer to them.
I remember specifically the time that I saw you do it. The person that we were there with, I think it was Speed Bump, right? And he was really impressed and thought it was a phenomenal, token idea. And you could tell he was thinking about it, and he's holding it, and he was thinking about it. And he looked at you, and he looked at it, and he said, "Can I wear it?" And he went, "Cool." And he wrapped it around his wrist, which I thought was perfect, right?
It's on you if you decide to do that. You're going to take the heat, but I'll defend you for whatever you want to do while you're contemplating fealty. Yeah. It's really, really important. It's something that we talk about. And I think it's super important for the other peerages to stand with the chivalry in fealty against some of the decisions that a crown makes. Like they're not monolith. You need to stand against them sometimes, and you need to stand with it with good advice. And your fealty puts weight to that for you to stand there. You're not betraying them. You're standing with what is good is right, and you're part of that path.
Well
Sorry,
said.
that was a little long.
No.
I'll babble.
I told you before, that's what we do on this show. we squeeze everything out of you that we can get. Okay, so our next question comes from Jarl Baldrick from man, I cannot talk tonight. Ealdamir, and he says, "How do you continue to support fighters in your kingdom in our virtual world? What have you been doing to make sure that the unbelts and not so unbelts in this plague time get a little bit of your wisdom?"
I mean, prowess is one of the easiest virtues. If you have perseverance and you search out the teachers, there are literally so many amazing teachers. There's so many resources out there. There's a couple people that have posted their training videos, and I'll just immediately be like, have you checked out these resources? And I'll just point them in that direction. But the fighting part is the easy part. You have time to sit down and relax. And so if you haven't read a book, if you haven't looked at anything else, and you think that you're on the path, then you've wasted an opportunity. If you need resources for fighting, just message me. If I see you posting something that you're doing, I'll post it to you if I'm paying attention. But yeah, there's not really a whole lot you can do in a virtual world except for point people in good directions. And if they have specific questions, answer them as well as you can.
I will say that for me, it's been a little rough, right? We're constantly moving. So we have been in one place for a year, a little more than a year now. And that's the first time we've done that since we started our crazy nomadic life. Because traveling, during a pandemic is, well, it would be feasible, if we just need RV parks that we can plant ourselves at. We're already work from home people, so it's easy. But we planted here, deciding that would be the best option and make things easier and safer. And we planted here in Trimaris. And it was the first time that I have given fealty to a kingdom that was not the East or the West. As someone who travels a lot, I gave fealty as a Viscount and as a knight in both the East and the West. So getting to Trimaris and giving fealty here, it was very, very strange. Giving fealty to the crown here, which was ultimately phenomenal. Their graces, Kern and Maisie, were phenomenal first crowns for me to give fealty to here. I really enjoyed the time I got to spend with both of them. But we had just gotten here, and I had been blessed with winning the Trimaris ANS championship as well, and got to stand as a Trimarian ANS champion for a Gulf Wars that didn't happen. So here I am, this new knight, this young knight, who is very excited to now have a kingdom to be a part of for a little while, and then everything goes into lockdown. So I have helped with a little bit of YouTube feedback. I have hopped in on some newcomer Zooms. I've tried to contribute where I can, but I certainly don't feel that I have had the opportunity to live up to the fealty that I give, and I am very, very excited to hopefully change that as things in the next several weeks / months, etc., open back up, since we're planning on sticking out around here a little bit longer just to get to see the locals and spend some time with them.
Excellent. Well said. I'm glad that you guys are settling in over there, but I just have to remind you, we're still over here on the best coast.
Don't you worry. Our honest plans for the last year were Her Excellency has never seen the Pacific Northwest. We were there for West Ontario War, and she loved it. And I adore the Pacific Northwest and almost moved there a couple times years back. So our plan was really to do a trip encompassing Salt Lake, Reno, and then Portland and Seattle, and just do a big 6-month loop of that area, and then head back down to the West. Obviously, that didn't happen this past year. I don't know that it's going to happen this year, but know that the West is one half of my being, the East being the other half of my being. Well, we're going to come back. It's a sure thing. Also, I know you need the rain really bad, so.
Yeah, we do need the rain, and I want to thank you for the rain on your birthday. We would have remembered anyway, but thanks for sending it just in case.
It is one of those things about the SCA that I love. One of the things that I adore about this society. I know every time it rains in the mists, because every time it rains in the mists, someone tags me in it. And here we are, 3 years after getting that moniker. It never gets old. It makes me smile every time, because it makes me know that my friends far away are thinking of me, and that means a lot.
Although I would appreciate it if you would stop ruining Estrellas. That's it. Like, quit it.
I mean,
hey, you take the good with the bad. You take the good with the bad.
People often say, like, "Oh, Rainbringer, you're going to make it rain here." I point out it is not Rainmaker. It is not a conscious choice. It is bringer. I go, it comes with. None suffer worse than me and perhaps Kiar.
And I would not have that cool story if it were not for the rain.
Right?
So, yeah, absolutely. Okay, we got so many more good questions here. This one comes from Count Seto. What's up, Seto? And this is for both of you. What is your favorite war to go to, and why?
I've actually answered this one before, and I'm going to answer it the same way. I don't have a favorite war. I have favorite wars for things. Pennsic is my home war. It will always be my home war because it was my first ever event. But Pennsic is two different things for me. Pennsic is my vacation, because first week at Pennsic, that's my vacation. Nothing is better. I get to spend that week lounging in my tent, drinking, making jewelry, and usually have several friends sprawled all over the place, drinking, relaxing, talking, listening to music, singing along, and just getting to spend time with my friends, which doesn't often happen at events since we're so busy, And the second week is work. An Easterner at heart, man. Like, Pennsic is our war, and Seto, I love you, but we gonna whoop you. That's what the East does. We beat up the mid at Pennsic. It's our job. Even though I love you, and we got to roll together, me and Seto and I, when he was Prince at Estrella. Why do I love Estrella the most? Estrella is probably some of my favorite melee. Right, for unit continuity and the way that it plays out in smaller skirmishes than it does at Pennsic. But then you've got Great Western, which for years has been my quote unquote vacation war, where I get a little bit of that first week and a little bit of that second week of Pennsic, but it's a little bit more comfortably small, and I see all my Western friends. So that's why Great Western is also my favorite war, right? And then I got to go to West Ontier, and West Ontier is now also my favorite war because it is the most beautiful terrain tucked away in the mountains and rolling hills, and it's absolutely beautiful. And West Ontier had the hardest fighting I've had. I had guys blow my socks off, and I hit the ground like, what the heck just happened to me? And looked up, and here's this guy smiling at me going, dude, that was awesome. And I was like, it was awesome. And he helped me up, but I hobbled off to res and came back out to try and do it back to him with big smiles. It was all the aggression without any ill intent and just a great time. I love Gulf Wars for, the ANS and the opening ceremonies pageantry and, the Ravine battle. Like, it's really hard for me to pick a single war because they are all so different and so distinct. And there are things that I adore about all of them. And the only regret I have is that I haven't gotten to go to all of them yet, because there's still quad wars, and there's still double wars, and there's still lilies, and there's still War of the Wings. And I could go on all day, but I'm going to go to all of them eventually. All of them.
Yeah.
And don't forget Double Wars in Sweden. Double Wars 2020.
Yep.
Yeah. We're all making a plan. If you haven't seen the Facebook group, we'll post up in the comments. But seriously, Double Wars 2020.
I'm invite. Shoot me 2021. I'm assuming you mean, right?
No, 2020.
Oh, they're just pushing it back.
So, we're giving everybody a whole extra year to get their shit together because it's in Sweden. So you got to make sure you got that passport. You got to make sure that you got your vaccine and all that kind of good stuff.
Yo, I got the passport. I got the pre-check. I got the first vaccine. I'm your boy. Right. Send me the info.
Same.
Well, I'm telling you, the good people of Drakkenwald have, they're laying it out for us, if you know what I mean. They're over there on the site. And like I said, we'll throw it in the comments so you can see it. And anyone can join. If you're thinking about, hey, let's take a trip to Sweden in 2020. Airlines are fairly cheap right now. It's in mid to late May. We're as the closer we get, the more that they'll have a concrete date. But all those good folks over in Drachenwald, whom I love so much, are there willing and ready to help you plan your European trip. So take advantage of it because, SCA people, they will take care of your ass to the point where, you don't even know if you should not stay wherever you're visiting, forever. It's like, oh, I'm here. Everybody's taking care of me. I guess I'll just stay. I'll just live here from now on. Anyway, so we're running out of time here, and I want to get to some more of these questions. We've got this question.
Potrero War for me, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. We didn't give you a chance to answer. Besides Potrero, I'm sorry. Go answer.
Potrero War, and there's plenty of wars, just the same as Antonii, that I'd love to make it to. I want to make it to Lily's because my secret life is, for those that don't know, my family's from Iowa, so I've always wanted to give Callantyr some love. So I want to make it to Lily's eventually. And Antir West. I love Antir West. Shout out to Rustam, Abu Nur Rustam Ibn Abdallah, my knight, who lives in Oregon. I'm definitely going to come out there and take advantage of his hospitality because he owes me.
You definitely should. If you guys haven't been at West Antir War, it's awesome. Double Wars is awesome. Great Western War. Great Western War is a good war.
That's a good one.
Yeah. All right.
Can I just say my single favorite memory of West Antir War, because it's a real quick one, was watching my lady as princess ask one of her guard to hold her coronet so that she could do the Viking stick wrestling game with another member of her guard who was twice her size and twice her weight, and she put him down and then smiled and put her coronet back on as he looked at her like, and I was like, that's my princess.
Yes, she is. Okay, so another quick question. Maybe not so quick. This one is from Fetchmeister Heinrich from Aitenveld. And this is, it's specifically for Zhigmun. You, sir, look like the kind of person who loves to dance. Have you ever lost a dance off? And if you have, when is the rematch? I'm guessing there's some backstory.
It sounds like a loaded question, Logan.
I have not lost a dance off at an event specifically. Although I have lost a dance off, sadly. I want to point out that I was not alone. Right there. Count Brian Winterborn also lost this dance off. So I was not alone in my nightly losses. But I will return the favor. He definitely has not been forgotten. And
although I think that we established earlier in the show that you don't have to be a good dancer, you just have to attempt to dance to be a good knight.
We're. You don't lose on the field and try and come back. Slouching.
Oh my goodness.
No.
Mr. Asa says, did someone say dance? And now I'm in trouble. Awesome. Thank you.
Hey girl, hey.
For anyone, I'll just be the guy who says, for anyone who hasn't really done the dance thing, I did it at Burka right before the world closed down for pandemic. It's the first time I went to a dance event. We finished up our Burka stuff and we went down and we went to do the dance thing, and the dance folk were so welcoming and so excited to see new people that even though we were terrible, they made us feel amazingly welcome, and we had a phenomenal time. So like, even if you don't dance, you should try. You'll have a ball.
The dance off he is mentioning specifically happened at a goth industrial club, just so you're aware. You're not surprised.
I'm unsurprised.
Well, not even a little bit. But I will tell you this. There's no such thing as people who don't dance. Everyone dances. You may not dance well. You may not dance to like the point where you're going to be winning awards or anything, but everyone dances. And I know this because not only was I made to dance by Mitch's Razor, but made to dance in armor between rounds at Nibelungen Creek in Drakkenwald. So yeah, you can dance. You can even dance in armor.
You're sounding like a Swede right now. There is no bad weather, only bad clothing. That's not true, because there is bad weather. I promise.
Yeah, but that's only when
there's 100% bad. I'm out of Manhattan, and Fred Lindsay went to sleep in my historical glassworks cup. By the way,
oh my goodness!
In my collection of cups.
Where is your fancy period glassware, Logan? Show us your franchise.
Yeah, accurate.
Who made it?
It was gifted to me by Mistress Sylvie of the West. I do not know who made it, though.
Knowing who gifted it to you is really the best part.
Yes, because she's awesome.
I have my Reneg Tan stuff and my Vandy glass and other stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I have 3 glasses next to me that are all made by 3 different people I adore in the society, and that says a lot.
That's awesome. So we still have a ton of good questions, but unfortunately, we are at the end of our time, even our extended time. So if you out there who are watching now want to ask questions to these 2 wonderful knights, and yours truly, and you want to see those questions answered, come on over to our Discord. It'll be starting up immediately after we're done here. It'll take us a couple of minutes to get over there, but if you go to the
bathroom, make another Manhattan.
Exactly. If you go to, there's the Discord link there. It's on the Between Two Peers server, and it's the Ask the Knights Live after show Discord thing, talking and fun, and yeah, we're gonna all have a good time. So before we leave, there's one last question I have to ask you, gentlemen, that I love to ask all my knights on the show, and that is, do you have something, any type of media, a book, a movie, a song, an album, a web show that you like to consume that gives you a little bit of inspiration, or that gets you into that medieval mood, so that you can go and do cool stuff, make the new things, fix your armor, polish that shield, whatever have you.
So I'm going to start with books. All right.
Zippy, this is the end of the show. You're supposed to be brief. He said one thing.
Getting through like Raymond Lull and like some of that other stuff, I know it's hard. Some of that stuff is dry. But if you want an easy beginner book that'll get you into his real historic stuff and talk about a character that's really awesome, The Greatest Knight by Thomas Asbridge is about William Marshall, and William Marshall is a certified badass. He's not a perfect man. He's not even a perfect knight, but he definitely made some changes in history, and it's all that. But right now, you have plenty of time. Please look up some history and do some stuff. My knight gave me a syllabus when I was squired, and it had the cartoon history of the world was listed in his syllabus, because if you're on the path, you should at least know something about history. And there's plenty of history stuff. If you're watching top 10 lists or anything else, just look up some history. There's a lot of awesome, cool stuff happening, I promise. And then a personal thing that I love a whole lot. There's been a whole lot of people that talk a lot of smack about historic cooking. There's this guy, Max Miller, doing Tasting History. It's amazing.
Yes.
The guy's beautiful. Yo Chivalry with Sir Roland, Baron of Alberon, which is Albuquerque. Caid's got a thing. Duke Sean's doing Coach's Corner. There, if you want stuff and you can't find it,
you don't know how to use it.
We'll have to find you, like, you'll need some other help that I can't help you with.
All right, my chivalry, etc. Get in the mood essentials. is more of a stuff that you should look at in general if this is stuff you're into, right? Number one, Sharney's A Knight's Own Book of Chivalry.
Mhm.
If you don't
right
want to be
here.
bothered with, if you don't want to be bothered with reading it, he who does best is most worthy, or they who do best is most worthy. If we want to really be appropriate, I think that really sums it up. Do your best, you will be worthy. I adore a number of other options. I will endorse this since it's sitting next to me and I've been reading it and I heart it. Rules for a Night by Ethan Hawke, which almost fades into my green screen. It's kind of a ghostly, magical book, as you can see. Thor is very interested in it too right now.
I haven't seen that one before.
It's written by Ethan Hawke, and it is posed as rules for chivalry as written through a series of letters. It's very, very cool. It's very, very light reading. It's not a novel. You can just flip through it and read it. It's great.
Nice.
And my favorite chivalry movie recommendation, because no one ever really thinks it is until you watch it. And then you're like, God damn. Ghost Dog with Forrest Whitaker. If you haven't seen it,
that is amazing.
watch it.
It's such a good one.
It is a terrible, great movie. And I watched it years ago and I liked it. It was okay. And then Sir Mordred from Long Island, New York, one of the guys that got to teach young spunky me a bunch of things as the cantankerous but well-intentioned, older knight. He was like, you should just watch Ghost Dog. And I was like, this 900-year-old guy, he watched Ghost Dog? Like, what's he talking about? Sure enough, I put it on and I watched it, and yes, watch Ghost Dog. That will teach you what it means to serve in a way, and it's really interesting. I hope some people look at that and sort of wrap their head around the idea of taking this modern urban fairy tale and some Japanese era, writings, and put it all together and roll it up and try and swallow it as chivalry. It's kind of cool.
That's a good one too.
It's an awesome match.
Well done.
Very nice. And I will throw in there the Anvil of Virtue by Servetus von Atzinger. It's a fantastic thing if you are, man, I don't even know how to explain it. You have to read it and then it'll change your life. It's really, really awesome. And then also, if you're not watching Between Two Peers, our sibling show, Friday nights at 7 p.m. PST, I don't know what the hell else you'd be doing. Also, our own Rainbringer here has been a guest host on there. So that just shows you how awesome a show it is. If they can
and a guest host.
A guest and a guest host. I've only been a guest. They haven't even asked me to host. And I have my own show. I've got my own damn show.
Well, you got to go guest host.
I've got my own damn show.
You see this Squire Zippy? Do you see this guy? this man reaching above his station so loftily. He's got this amazing show he's running, and he's still got to be like, well, maybe I could be a guest host over here too. I tell you.
I accept.
Weren't we just saying something about sharing the spotlight with others, Logan?
I feel as if he has affronted the two peers that host that show by thinking that they have done less than they should by not offering him. I accept your challenge, good Logan.
Right.
And as you have presented the challenge and I accept it, I will choose the means on the field when we are available.
He is too busy trying to host other shows to get his heraldry posted online. That's what it is.
I expect when this challenge is made for you to bring and present your full heraldry and do heralds as is a man of your station. You're a baron, correct?
I
saw you at the court. Yeah, exactly. You should have heralds and heraldry. Obviously. I don't need to ask for that. You would bring a retinue appropriate to your station, I assume, right?
Yes, I will. By the grace of their majesties of the West, I am a baron, and man, it just the hole just keeps getting deeper. But I will take it, and I will face the challenge, and I will accept the hazard. Thank you both so much for being on the show. See, look, Cal's going to be my herald. Thank you, Cal. Cal's always got my back, no matter if it's the show or on the field. He's got my back. So speaking of Cal and having people's backs, hey, if you guys like what we're doing, you want to see more of this, you want to see us keep bringing fantastic guests like these two fantastic people, and you want to see us get a little bit better, go over to Patreon and give us your support. If you can, it just takes a couple bucks, and we would really, really appreciate it. And I get to say this now, finally, officially. There are a couple of ways where you can get this new fantastic nifty thing that we now have. One way is to go over to Redbubble and order it yourself if that's what you want. But the other way is to go over and support us on Patreon, because we will be picking a few random patrons to get. That's right. It's true. Ask the Night stickers. Check that out. Fantastic logo designed by Her Grace Helga herself. You know you want one to put on your cup or, I don't know, your forehead, your helmet, whatever. But yeah, Ask the Night Live stickers. That's what more could you want? What more could you want? All right, so yeah, head on over to Redbubble or over to Patreon and help us out. The more you do, the more we get to do, and that's fantastic. All right, so enough with the commercials and more on the thanks. Thank you, gentlemen, once again for being on.
Can I have a gratuitous shout out?
Oh, absolutely, please.
I'm gonna make a gratuitous shout out for my mom and dad, both of whom have tuned in tonight and have tuned in for all of the things SCA related that I've done on here, and who showed up for my knighting and support me wearing silly clothes and hitting people with clubs because they love me and they are awesome. That's all.
Well, we love that they love you. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for tuning in tonight. I appreciate it. Zippy, you got any gratuitous shout outs that you need to get off your chest?
Well, I love my mom and dad too, so
But see, there was a perfect opportunity for a dirty joke.
I've given on enough sass. I think I'm set to go.
All right.
I mean, I feel like it's just important to point out that you brought the gift and you said he was your hero, and he still forgot to ask you a question.
That's true.
And then you got to just go and steal my shout out and shout out your parents too. It's cool, man. It's cool.
That's true. Well, I mean, and then he did challenge your consort too. Don't forget about that.
That's it.
I did that.
We're going to Discord. We're going to follow this up over there. We're taking the gloves off. That's what happens next. I'm sure.
I didn't mention the other squires. I didn't mention the other squires. Fergus, aka Shane. I didn't mention Galfredus, the not man at arms, which is another story, and I didn't mention Cody, the first squire. They get shout outs too. I didn't mention them.
Well, come on over to Discord, everybody, if you want to hear about that. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for being on the show or for watching the show, and we'll see you next week.
And keeping Cal up super late.
Super, super late.